if you've been following XRP and the pre-allocation theory, you better grab your popcorn. You better grab your seat because the bombshell we all been waiting for, it just hit. Ripple Labs is officially leading a 1 billion, yes, 1 billion with a B raise to accumulate XRP. And guess what? This changes absolutely everything. I'm not exaggerating here. This could be the single biggest confirmation of the pre-allocation theory that we have ever had. All those whispers, all those leaked documents, all the "you're crazy" comments, they were wrong. It has always been true. And here's the wild part, because Ripple could have just pulled this XRP from their escrow, but they didn't. They're raising $1 billion to buy it. Why? Well, because they want to send one message. XRP's price, it's not done. It is about to be discovered. Stick around because in this video, we're going to break down how this changes Ripple's playbook, what the big banks are quietly doing behind the scenes, and why even the White House and the Fed are unintentionally setting up XRP for its next explosion. Without further ado, folks, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and let's dive on in. We're going to start right here. UBS, they just raised their 2025 year-end S&P 500 target from 6,600 to 6,900. Now, you're probably asking, why should crypto care about a TradeFi index move? Because when institutions lift targets like this, it singles risk on mode across global markets. The same capital rotation that's about to pour into equities, it's going to spill over into digital assets. Every macro analyst that I know, when equities go risk on, crypto, it follows harder and faster. And with Ripple setting up to accumulate XRP, this timing, it feels suspiciously coordinated. Big money just doesn't raise targets randomly. Remember that. They are aligning with liquidity cycles, policy shifts, maybe even strategic digital asset positioning behind closed doors. And that brings us to our next clue, something that Anthony Pompliano just dropped live on Fox. He said, yeah, Pomp himself, he went live on Fox and he said something that nobody wanted to admit. They stated in here, we're going to listen to this clip. Gold is still down 84% in Bitcoin terms. He said, if you can't beat it, you need to buy it. Right there is the sound of traditional finance realizing that the old system, it's crumbling and Bitcoin set the tone. But XRP, it is about to set the standard. Listen up to Pomp here.
So about 1 year ago, Bitcoin was at like $70,000.
Yeah, I
know.
So
it has still had incredible performance. If you go back to 2020, it's up 1,500%, right? So one of the things that I like to do is I like to take assets and denominate them in Bitcoin. So anyone can make money when you compare it to the dollar. Dollar only goes down. And so if you look at stocks, the S&P is up 100% since January of 2020. In Bitcoin terms, it's down 88%. So while stock investors think they're winning, when you compare it to a finite asset that can't be debased, they're actually down significantly. When you look at gold, similar story. Gold is actually up about 150% since January of 2020. But when you denominate it in Bitcoin price, it's down 84%. And so again, it kind of comes back to this idea of what is your hurdle rate? Are you trying to outperform dollars or are you trying to outperform a finite asset? For me, I think of Bitcoin as the hurdle rate. And as many people know with the hurdle rate, if you can't beat it, I think you got to buy it.
What do you
If you can't beat it, you got to buy it. So look, while gold is out here crushing it and fiat is losing credibility, Ripple is out there raising real capital, 1 billion to accumulate digital liquidity, not testnet coins, not paper promises, actual XRP. And if the crypto OGs are admitting that Bitcoin has outperformed gold, wait until they realize that Ripple is playing 5D chess with a digital asset designed to run the global payment system. And folks, quick note, if you wanted me to personally break down your position or how to get positioned for XRP's next liquidity event, we got those one-on-one call slots available in every single video in the description down below. Not hype, pure strategy. The link's below. Seriously, finish this video first because it is going to get crazy from here. My boy over here, Mr. I, put this out. He says using escrow might seem cheaper than raising 1 billion, but doing that, it could flood the market and crash the the price. And Ripple knows that. So instead, what are they doing? They're raising money to buy XRP without disrupting supply dynamics. That's not just financial engineering, everyone. That's market signaling. They're telling the world, we believe XRP is undervalued and we're willing to pay full price for it. The SPAC structure that they're using, that's Wall Street's favorite stealth move. You don't believe me? Go look that up. It hides massive accumulation before you get your price discovery. You don't raise $1 billion unless you know what's coming. I don't know about you. I know my XRP, it's worth more than its current value, $2.20. I will not be selling XRP at $2.20. I know that this asset is worth a lot more. And I did not hold an asset for 8 years for a $2.20 XRP, folks. We move over to this. That's the article. This is where it starts to get pretty beefy and pretty interesting. So we heard about this, that Ripple Labs is officially leading the effort to raise at least $1 billion to accumulate XRP. And it's not a rumor anymore. This is true. This is factual, right? This isn't about pilot programs. This isn't about ownership. Ripple isn't selling into the market. They are buying it out. In a space where perception drives value, this move right here, it screams confidence. It's the corporate equivalent of saying, I'll buy my own dip, which puts us over here. So why would Ripple buy XRP if they have, what, 30, 40 billion in escrow still? It's simple. This isn't about access. It's about psychology and market structure. Ripple wants to build confidence in XRP. They want traders, institutions, and regulators to see the real demand. So by raising fresh capital through a SPAC, they put upward pressure on open market demand while keeping the escrow untouched. Every token they buy, that's a statement. We are here for the long game. We are not going anywhere. That XRP could then be injected into operations. It can be added to treasuries or seeded to build mega liquidity pools on the XRP ledger. Any way you slice it, that's bullish. Don't let Twitter or some person out there on social media tell you that this is not a bullish move, because it 100% is. And then we get this, the regulatory angle on it, right? I want you to listen closely to this video right here, because while everyone is distracted by the token's price and what's going on in the markets, there is something much bigger happening. US regulators are quietly implementing national legislation to tackle offshore stablecoins like Tether, which they see as a financial stability threat. They don't like that, folks. That means they're paving the way for onshore, fully compliant USD-backed stablecoins. And who's best positioned to bridge that? Ripple with RLUSD. Listen up.
Importance of that. So I think it's now important for main regulators to have the same view after they take the step of putting in place national legislation.
Yeah, and of course, the problem that they're sort of tackling there is different for different jurisdictions. For a lot of jurisdictions, they're tackling the problem of offshore issuers of non-local currency stablecoins, which is an entirely different sort of financial stability concern than an onshore issuer of a dollar-based stablecoin in the US. I'll also say here, maybe just plugging our work a little bit, the Atlantic Council is going to be doing quite a bit of work with the G20 and the upcoming presidency of the G20 on stablecoin standardization, harmonization across G20 member states, at least as a starting point to get standards to the same place.
Look, when the US flips the switch and demands for domestic stablecoin liquidity, the rails that connect them, their interoperable layer, it's likely going to run on the XRP ledger. This isn't random. It is all coordinated. And then we move over to this, because we got White House advisor Kevin Hassett, who just said 3 rate cuts by the Fed, that would be a good start. Translation, there's going to be a liquidity flood that is incoming. And every time the Fed turns the money printer back on, crypto, it rallies first. Add that to Ripple's $1 billion buyback, and all these dots, they start connecting. This isn't a coincidence. I'm telling you right now, this is a synchronized setup, which brings us to the pre-allocation theory. This is where everything starts to click. What if the $1 billion raise isn't just about liquidity? It's about covering the truth that Ripple can't say out loud. From day one, all 100 billion XRP were pre-mined. No miners, no fair launch. 80 billion went to Ripple, 20 billion to founders. Then Ripple locked 55 billion XRP into an escrow, promising monthly releases to avoid flooding the market. And that's the official story on it, right? So the pre-allocation theory claims a massive portion of XRP, it was already promised. It was already distributed or committed to institutions and central banks long before retail could touch it, meaning that the true supply on exchanges could be way smaller than we actually think. If Ripple's escrow has hidden obligations, pre-signed deals, IOUs, structured allocations, they can't just unlock and sell it. Those tokens are already spoken for. And that's why this billion-dollar raise suddenly makes perfect sense. If Ripple had unlimited XRP in escrow, why raise new money to buy more? Well, because maybe they can't touch the escrow. Maybe it is already pre-allocated, folks. This would explain everything. Why Ripple never dumps XRP in retail. Why we've never had full transparency on escrow flows. Why institutional wallets move quietly off schedule. If pre-allocation is real and Ripple is now buying new XRP because the old supply is already accounted for, we're staring down a massive supply shock. Ripple is telling the market, we're not just holders. We are buyers now. They are consolidating liquidity before the global switch flips, before onshore stablecoins, before Fed cuts, and before all these institutional rails collide. So when people ask, why raise $1 billion to buy XRP? The answer might be as simple as this, because they already sold the rest years ago. And if that's true, then the pre-allocation theory, it wasn't a rumor. It was the blueprint all along. Ripple doesn't chase rumors, remember that. They confirm them, and they're confirming them with a $1 billion check. So here's where we're at. UBS just went bullish on global markets. Pomp's telling gold holders you better surrender. The Fed's preparing for multiple rate cuts, and Ripple, they're buying their own assets, possibly confirming one of the biggest XRP theories ever. This isn't hype. It is history unfolding. And if you ever doubted XRP's long game, this is your wake-up call. The tides are turning. And those who understand this now will be miles ahead when price catches up to fundamentals. Drop me a comment down below. Do you believe that this pre-allocation theory was real all along? And if you want to talk strategy before this next wave hits, hit that link below. Book that one-on-one call with me. Let's position you like an insider, because whether the world is ready or not, the XRP era, it just got confirmed.